So generally, I've been detoxing from Destiny so that I'm ready to go day one Edge of Fate and grind out to my heart's content. And the online discourse surrounding Edge of Fate with every day seems to grow. Regardless of who you are and what your connection is to Destiny, people have varying opinions of what Edge of Fate is going to be like, what it's going to do, and why it's going to fail. There's a contingent of people who think that quality of life updates aren't good enough for a DLC, and I get that. There are certainly ways that the game can be improved outside of a DLC, but that's not all the Edge of Fate is going to offer, so I think that's a little bit jumping the gun on that. Of course, I could be wrong, and maybe it is mostly quality of life stuff that's coming, and the campaign is lackluster, and the raid sucks, so on, but I don't think that'll be the case completely. Maybe the campaign will suck and the raid will be good, or vice versa, but let's wait and see on that, right? Then there is some stuff that has been shown in the reveal streams that have been a little bit scary, I guess, in terms of how much new content are we gonna get, with Empire Hunts being shown off with the new modifiers as opposed to a new seasonal activity, or just new activity in general. And I do think that with no new strikes coming, there is a bit of a question of what are we going to be doing for the most part in this DLC. Are we going to be playing the story missions over and over again? Are we going to be raiding? Is there going to be, again, a seasonal activity that really grabs hold of you? We do know the Coil is coming back, which is a pretty solid seasonal activity from Season of the Wish, but there are some people out there that don't really enjoy refurbished content, and that's okay, because I do think there'll be enough new stuff in Edge of Fate to keep you satiated. And if not, there are people who consume their content in different ways. There are people who will binge Edge of Fate, there are people who will play it little by little, and so on, and listen, that's fine. Everyone's gonna have different opinions. Everyone's going to play this DLC in a different way. And to that extent, I just want to say, whether you're super positive about the future of Destiny or super negative, both of those things have merit. There's a reason to be excited because this is a new chapter, and the possibilities are endless. I am a Destiny 3 truther, and I would love to see that, but it's clear at this point we're not getting that, and this is the closest thing that we are going to get to a Destiny 3 within Destiny 2, and I've made my peace with that. Now, on the negative side, you might say D3 is the only thing that can save this game. Edge of Fate isn't going to be enough, there's not enough content, the quality of life stuff is going to be lackluster, and at this point, you can't say that for sure, right? We're a little less than 2 weeks out from the DLC being dropped, and unless you're a Bungie employee that's played through the whole thing, I don't think you can say at this point one way or the other, which is why I'm trying to promote a balance of both, and not to lean too much into either side, and be somewhere in the middle on this. And when the DLC comes out, is it really good? Yeah, it is. Then you can lean towards the positivity, and you should. And if it's not great, maybe you seep a little bit more into the negative side of the sphere, because this is, as always, risky for Bungie to be doing a new cadence, and I say risky, and I do think that if Edge of Fate flops, it's not going to be the end of the world like I'm sure most people think it's going to be, or most people will have you believe. There is this chart I'm going to reference that is from data used from warmind.io. Great website. Charlemagne is a great Discord bot if you are looking for a Destiny 2 Discord bot that tracks stats, and you can use it for LFG posts within Discords. But Testify from Reddit put together this chart, and it basically shows the pre-orders compared to the final shape. Now, I think it's a little unfair because final shape and Edge of Fate. It's like apples to oranges, right? Final Shape was the penultimate expansion within the Destiny Light and Dark saga. It had way more riding on it than I think the Edge of Fate does, and there is about a 500,000 difference in level of pre-orders, at least at release. You can see it's around 739k for Edge of Fate pre-orders at release, and then for Final Shape it was almost 1.4 million by the time of release. So again, about 600,000 pre-orders off from where the Final Shape was. But still, it is projected to have about 1 million copies of sales, and that's still pretty good. I don't think it's going to be up to the expectations of Bungie, which could mean more layoffs are on the horizon. I hope that isn't the case. Another thing that if you want to look at a positive, if the revenue thresholds aren't met, that Sony might finally kick out Bungie leadership and take over and maybe retransform the company, which is really the most negative part about this whole thing at this point. A lot of people view Bungie, the company, quite negatively, but the game, they have more positive or at least neutral feelings towards. They're like, oh yeah, Destiny's a great game, but man, Bungie just can't keep their head on straight. And most people, I think, would agree to that statement, whether you're a super positive person or super negative. And that's why I bring these charts in. I try to use numbers because numbers are facts and they help you make sense of things, and they're not always true. Like, someone will show you the concurrent players on Steam, and that doesn't reflect the players on PlayStation or Xbox or, Epic Games or whatever. So Destiny has a much larger active player base than, the 20,000 that Steam is showing right now, or 15,000 or whatever. It's probably closer to 45,000 or somewhere in that range. But it is a good measuring stick of how are people enjoying this DLC, how and all that. It is something you can use to prove a point, and point proven here with Edge of Fate that obviously people are not super excited about it, at least not as excited as they were for Final Shape. But again, Final Shape was like the end of a trilogy. Edge of Fate is the beginning, and episodes, for the most part, didn't inspire any confidence in Bungie, with the exception of Heresy, which was a good ending point. And listen, these projections could be wrong. Hopefully Testify will come out with an update closer to the release of Edge of Fate, but again, I mean, it could change drastically from when this was projected. It was about 3 weeks out from Edge of Fate, so about a week ago as of this recording. So again, that is subject to change, so don't take the chart that I showed as gospel. It is, I'll just end on my own thoughts. I do think that quality of life changes have been needed for a long time, and for the longevity of Destiny 2, you need to make these changes, and hopefully there are more on the horizon, because you're not just going to get away with, the portal and, the testing range and all the other stuff, Armor 3.0. That is just the beginning of what needs to happen, and, overhauling a game at this point in its lifespan is going to take time, and these first steps will help players recognize, hopefully, if the changes are implemented in a good fashion, that maybe Destiny 2 can be successful, and you don't need a Destiny 3 to save the franchise. I do think that after this Fate saga has wrapped up, that D3 could be more realistic, but listen, that's 5 years away. So Bungie does need to find a way to be successful with this cadence, or at least with Destiny 2, until we get to that point, if that indeed happens. And, aside from that, I don't want to say anything too negative, because I really have paid a minimal amount of attention compared to what I usually do for other DLCs, because I'm trying to go into this DLC a little bit blind, not completely, but just without as many opinions on gameplay and the power system and all that, just reading the information that Bungie puts out, which, you know, isn't always correct or 100% what is going to happen in game, but usually they correct themselves, and they've done that a couple times already. So again, trying to be as unbiased as possible, even though I'm biased anyways. I do think Edge of Fate will be good. How good it's going to be is yet to be determined, and again, that's just my hope and my speculation, but we'll have to wait until July 15th to see what the case is overall. Anyway, if you want to follow for more videos on this channel about Destiny 2, go ahead and subscribe, hit that like button if you enjoyed this content. I have made a second channel, and I'm going to start uploading variety content on this channel. It's going to be called Dylon San Gaming for now. It's very, very bare bones, and I might just upload some clips there from Apex, because I've been playing a lot of Apex Ranked recently, and other games that I'm thinking about picking up as well, because listen, just for my own mental health and enjoyment of games, playing more games is just a better experience, and I love Destiny 2, and I will always come back to it, but I have had such a fun time this past month or so, outside of, you know, doing Ride of the Nine and getting that title, playing other games like Metaphor ReFantasio, again, a lot of Apex, a little bit of Splitgate here and there. But it has truly been fun, and I will probably pick up those games after Edge of Fate, because listen, Metaphor ReFantasio, that game is so long, and there's so much content there. But yeah, we'll be here covering Destiny 2 during the Edge of Fate and after with Renegades. But that's it for me for now. See ya.